Welcome to the Digital Tea Room. Today we're making the carriage window earrings. For this project, you'll need 15 sheets of wood veneer, cut to 7.5 by 5 centimeters. Divide them into 2 stacks of 6 and set the remaining 3 aside for later. Glue each stack together 1 sheet at a time using superglue. A bamboo skewer works well for spreading the glue evenly. Once done, you'll have 2 laminated panels. Set these aside for around 30 minutes to cure. While those are curing, we'll need our teardrop templates. I've prepared these in advance using UV resin and a teardrop-shaped pendant earring mold. I made 2 different sizes, one for the outer earring and one for the inner. If you'd like to see how I made these, I'll be putting together a couple of separate videos covering the resin mold process, so do keep an eye out for those. If you'd prefer to make your own without resin, the shape can easily be traced freehand onto both panels and cut out using a jeweler's saw. If you don't have access to a jeweler's saw or a mini lathe, a hacksaw works fine. Or you can sand by hand, though do be aware this will take considerably more time. Now take the 3 remaining sheets, glue them together and leave for about 20 minutes. This becomes the inner window, a smaller teardrop, roughly half the size of the first. This design is inspired by the Welsh countryside, the kind you catch glimpses of through a train window on a quiet afternoon. The dried flowers represent the wild landscape outside, the green opal reflects the fields and valleys of Wales, and the wood is reclaimed railway crossing timber. So there's a little piece of the railway in the jewellery itself. Now we start on the inner window, the smallest of the teardrops. Using double-sided sticky tape, stick the 2 inner panels together. This way, when we take them to the mini lathe and sand them, both pieces are shaped at the same time, giving us a perfectly matched pair of inlay windows once separated. Now I'm supergluing 2 cocktail sticks to the back of each inner earring window. These act as handles, making the next stage much easier to work with. We're now going to cover one side of the wood veneer with glow powder. Start by applying a thin coat of medium superglue to the surface, then pour the glow powder on top, making sure it's fully coated. Once covered, apply a thin coat of thin superglue over the glow powder to seal it, then spray with activator to cure. Repeat this process at least 2 to 3 times depending on the coverage, each time applying the medium superglue first, then the glow powder, then sealing with the thin superglue and activator spray. Once that's complete, stick the 2 inner windows back together and take them back to the mini lathe to clean up the edges and get a nice, neat finish on the inner window of the earrings. Now we repeat the same sanding and shaping process on the outer, larger teardrop base of the earrings using the mini lathe. Finishing with a final hand sand. Once shaped, add the screw peg. And seal the wood veneer with a thin coat of superglue, followed by activator spray. Repeat this process twice. Now we move on to attaching the inner window to the outer teardrop. Position it centrally within the larger teardrop and seal it with superglue to prevent any air bubbles escaping later in the resin process. Now we move on to the inlay. Start by placing the large blue flower almost centrally within the teardrop shape. Then build around it. Adding the opal, the railway crossing wood, the white dried flowers, and the pink dried flowers. Finally, add the gold leaf. Once the inlay is complete, seal each inner window with a small amount of thin superglue and activator spray. Take care not to use too much superglue here. Too much and you'll get white bubbles, which will spoil the piece. Now we move on to the final stage, the resin coating. Apply 2 thin coats of UV resin, placing the piece under a UV lamp for 180 seconds on each side. We're keeping the coats thin so the piece doesn't become too bulky. Once both sides are done, apply resin to the outer rim to fully encase the piece and build up a clean edge ready for sanding. Take the piece back to the mini lathe and sand, shape, and polish the whole piece ready for the final coating. Once the final coat has been applied, carefully hand sand the side profile at 220 grit to ensure it's even and smooth. And with that, the carriage window earrings are complete. Thank you for joining us on this journey. We hope you enjoyed the ride, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.